Morning everyone, out for another run. We're going to be talking about antidepressants today. Should I take them? Should I leave them? Well, let's just talk a little bit about that and perhaps you can make up your own mind at the end of the video. And I'll give you a few tips and tricks as well. Okay, let me tell you a story. A long time ago, I was having a bit of a crap time at work. There was 3 people off long-term sick and it was very stressful. And I didn't quite know how to handle it. I don't think I was depressed. I wasn't all that anxious. I was just really stressed. So I spoke to some friends of mine who were GPs and said, what should I do? So 2 of them said, we're taking citalopram. Perhaps you should try that. So I went to the GP and I said, really struggling at work. Got this horrible, stressful feeling from all the crap that's going on. She says, have you thought about medication? And I said, yeah, well, funnily enough, 2 of my friends are on citalopram. And she said, well, I'm on sertraline. Why don't you try that? I said, geez, general practice, apart from being a DJ, is the only job where you have to take drugs to go to work. Anyway, ended up taking them for 1.5 years. And it definitely saved me. But about halfway through that, I dropped the dose from 100 to 50. And it was awful. The reason it was awful is because I hadn't done any of the hard work. And I'll explain that in a little analogy that I like to use when I talk to people about whether or not they should start an antidepressant. One of the first things to say about antidepressants, they are not addictive. Everyone says, I don't want to get addicted. Well, they're not addictive, so knock yourself out. The next thing to say is you can come off them whenever you like. But generally you need to be on them for the first time for at least 6 months with a period of stability. And I also say don't come off them in the winter or the autumn. Maybe wait till the spring to come off them. Everyone's much more depressed in those winter and autumn months. Okay, so the next thing, as I said earlier, is an analogy that I like to use. What is that analogy? Well, I think of our mood and our coping strategies and things like that as being in a swimming pool. Most of the time you're able to tread water and your head's above the water and life's okay and you can cope with everything. But think of swimming as your coping strategies. What are your coping strategies? Well, those are things you do when times are tough that help you out. That might be chatting to friends, going for a walk, things like that. But if your coping strategies run out and you don't swim very well and you start to sink, and when you start going under the water, you can start to feel anxious or depressed. The other thing to say about that is those external things in your life can also cause problems. So they can begin to drag you down or sit on top of you. And your options with those things are to try and remove them or outlast them. And that's easier said than done. If you've got a problem with long-term workplace bullying, very, very hard to wait until the person moves on or they retire. So perhaps your only choice is to leave the job, go somewhere else, or hope that management can sort it out. That doesn't seem to happen very often, unfortunately. Another thing to say about anxiety and depression is the majority of patients that I see are not depressed, and they're often appropriately anxious or appropriately stressed, but they don't cope very well with it. And that's probably a bit of like what was happening to me. So should they go on an antidepressant? Well, maybe. So it certainly helps some people. And if you're that person who's the water is beginning to sort of bubble around your face and you're beginning to drown, maybe it's better to get on them sooner rather than later. So when you're in the swimming pool and you're drowning, think of the antidepressants as the armbands. They get you floating again in some cases, and you begin to feel like you can cope. That is not the same as the swimming lessons. But if I'm the swim coach and you're drowning and I'm shouting at the side of the pool, get your legs, move your arms, and you're under the water, you're not going to hear me. So it does mean that there's a place for these to try and get you floating, get you that period of stability, so you can then start working on the swimming lessons. Now the problem with armbands, sometimes they're the wrong size and you have to inflate them to make them bigger, and that's increasing the dose. That might take you a few months to get that right. Sometimes you need 2 armbands, sometimes you need 2 armbands and a rubber ring, and that's just extra medicine. And if you don't want that, well, my advice is this: once you're floating, even if you've just started floating, get onto that hard work as soon as you can, because you need to do those swimming lessons. You need to figure out how you're going to get out of the pool, or you're going to be reliant on armbands and rubber rings for the rest of your life. So what can you do to help you swim better? So there's lots of things you can do that I would call the swimming lessons. First one is this: get outside in the morning. Look out there. Oh, you can't really tell. I think that's the sun about there, just rising there. Get out in the sunshine. Get out in the early morning. It helps your moods, it helps your sleep. It's just generally nice to be outdoors, especially out in nature like this, out in the trees. All of that gives you a smile, helps you feel better, gets you reconnected with what's important in your life, gives you time to think. So get outside. Secondly, do some exercise. Exercise releases endorphins and all kinds of happy chemicals. It's really, really important to do exercise. Now, people always say to me, they say, oh, I can't do exercise, can't be bothered, I don't feel like it. I know, mood follows action. It's really important to bear that in mind. You have to do the hard work before it feels good. You're never going to go and run a marathon having never run before. Get outside, get training, and one day you might run a marathon and feel awesome because you get a medal and cross the finish line and everyone says, you're cool, hey. Oh, be careful of the external validation there. Anyway, so mood follows action. So get out, do 10 minutes a day or something small that you can manage. Pick an exercise that you like. It's the most important thing. One that you enjoy doing, and you'll be more likely to succeed. Better still, get yourself an accountability buddy, someone who you can do it with, or join a team or a club, and you're much more likely to get out and do stuff. So that's point number 2. The next thing is nutrition. Serotonin, which is your happy chemical that goes into your brain and tells you everything's good. We used to think that was released by the brain, and some of it is, but the majority of it is produced by the colon, and the colon produces 70% of that, particularly when it has a happy gut microbiome. So if you eat healthily, you have lots of plant-based foods, because that's what those particular bacteria live off of, then you'll have more serotonin and you'll feel better. So look at your nutrition. Okay, next one is sleep. Now, sleep's a tricky one, because sometimes poor sleep is a symptom of your mood or your anxiety or your depression, and other times it's the cause of it. It's a really tricky balance trying to get that right, because unfortunately antidepressant medications they make this serotonin more available for your brain, but, well, the modern ones do anyway. But the other issue is serotonin is made from tryptophan, and tryptophan is the same chemical that's used to make melatonin. Melatonin is your sleep hormone. So if you're using it all up to make more serotonin, you might actually have problems with your sleep as a result. So again, how can you get better sleep? Well, sorry, running over a bridge. I've made videos on this before. You can go and have a look on how to get better sleep. But most of this stuff still applies. Get outside early in the morning, do exercise, eat healthy. Your sleep will get better. Your sleep will also... Oh, sorry, I'm just going to show you what I'm going through here. Hold on. Yeah, look at that. Jeez. This muddy path. I'm probably not going to run and film as I go through here, or else I'll be making a video on how to stabilise someone's neck when they've had a fall and a neck injury. So sorry. Bear with me, all right. Back in the woods. It's a bit dark. Sorry if the video quality is not very good. Where did I get to? I think I was talking about sleep and then breaking my neck. Right, the next thing to be aware of is stay away from harmful substances and behaviours. None of them make you happy. They mostly rely on dopamine to get you doing those things more often. But dopamine, when it crashes, is very, very upsetting for your mood, and it causes anxiety and things like that. Alcohol in particular really has a horrible effect on your cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And if you drink lots of alcohol, the next day your cortisol level is through the roof. And the thing that takes that down quickly is another drink. So stay away from harmful substances and do all that good stuff. And your mood might be better, but also if you are on the tablets, they'll work better. Look, I'm sure there's lots of things you can do to be better. I mean, you can stop talking to your annoying parents, or you can change your job, or you can have better friendships. But in all honesty, sometimes the tablets are necessary, and therefore it's a discussion I often have with people. I say, you need to think about the tablets, and then we'll do the hard work. Now, in my case, as I said, I hadn't done the hard work, and then when I reduced the dose, everything went to crap. So I had to go back and look at all those things I've just mentioned. I started doing Miracle Morning, got up at 5 a.m, stopped staying up late, stayed away from toxic substances and booze, and generally tried to live a healthier life. Right, for what it's worth, I've got no script at all today. This should be one of these off-the-cuff videos. But anyway, hopefully some of it makes sense. Right, so yeah, I did all the hard work, and lo and behold, when it came to coming off the medication, I came off it no problem. It sort of solved all the issues, improved all the coping strategies. The problems at work had settled down, and it was straightforward. But it is difficult, and I'm not going to say it's easy to do those things, but as I said before, mood follows action, not the other way around. So a couple other quick things to say. First of all, as I said before, they're not addictive, but addiction and withdrawal are not the same thing. So don't just stop these, because there's a risk that you will not like the side effects, and you have to reduce them slowly under medical supervision in most cases. But that's not the same as addiction, which is a craving for the medication, and there's a lot of unhealthy habits go along with addiction. That's not what these are. So be careful when you're coming off them. And the last thing to say, and the most important, I suppose I've left this till last when nobody's watching the video, is speak to someone. If you're feeling low, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling stressed, there's 8 billion people out there. Surely one of them can listen to you. And there's loads of services out there like Breathing Space and Samaritans and things like that. But in particular, much as I hate to say it, go see your GP. We deal with this all day long. So make that your number one priority, and at least get some information first. And don't go on this journey on your own. It's very, very difficult. Recruit some friends, recruit some professional people, and you'll do really well. Okay, I think that's it for today. Nice.